welcome to this second lesson of Blender course. In this course we're going to make a red-white pill. I'm going to continue on episode 1 where we've learned the basics of Blender. In this episode we'll continue to more advanced operations on the mesh, on the object. So I'm going to show you now how to create this pill. First of all, we are going to remove this cube, as you see here, by pressing the X key. So it asks me to delete, and I say yes, delete. Now on the top left, we're going to choose for a sphere, or so-called UV sphere. So if you press on this button, a sphere appears. So now we are able to create our pill from this one. So first I press tab and go to edit mode, hold Ctrl and zoom in a little bit, like this. And now I want to see the side view, so I press 1, but as I can see up here, it's in perspective view. So I press 5 to go to orthographic view. And I'm going to select half a sphere. So what I'm going to do is press A to deselect all vertices and make a block selection to the right part of this sphere. So I press B for block selection and drag with my left mouse button rectangular around this half of the sphere. When this is done, I press X again to delete all these vertices. And now I see I made a mistake. I didn't select the back side, so I press Ctrl Z to undo this, because here at the bottom you see this little option is called limit selection to visible, and I need to disable that because the vertices were in the background. So I try again and press B for a rectangle, drag and select, press X and say vertices. Now you can see you have a half a sphere. If we switch back to the camera view, I press 0 on my numeric keypad and I can zoom in a little bit, you can see there is half a sphere. So if I go back to the front view by pressing 1, we're going to make 1/2 of the pill. So what I'm going to do is very closely to the edge select a rectangular, so I only want to have the front pointing vertices, like this. It looks at the bottom that I might have a little bit too much, but we'll see. So now I press E for extrude and hold down Ctrl. So if I don't use Ctrl, I can freely move around, but if I hold Ctrl, it will nicely align on the grid. So maybe I need to zoom out a little bit, but I'm going over here, zoom out a little bit, press E again and go over here. So now I have three squares of major squares of the grid, as you can see here. Actually, I can get rid of this one. I should have moved it. So I remove this last one, press X and delete the vertices, B for block selection, and I'm going to move this one by G, like this. This is a nicer solution. So I press tab to leave the edit mode, press 0 to see the camera. And I can also freely drag around, and now you see it's a hollow first part of the pill. Now we have a little problem which we're going to solve. It's still hollow. As you can see here, you look inside of our mesh and we want to make it solid. So what we're going to do now is I press tab again for the edit mode. These are still selected. If it happens for you that these are not selected, that's not a problem. So you can have this situation, just press B for block selection and drag a rectangle around. This works in edit mode, object mode, doesn't matter. You can always use B for a rectangular selection. So what we actually want to do is close the mesh around this circle. So here you have the mesh menu, and on faces you have make, edge or face, and that's what we want to do. If you remember from the first episode, you have a mesh, which is the whole thing. You have the vertices, which are these little orange dots, but we want to make a face out of it that it's closed. So I'm pressing this menu option, and you can see here that you can also press the F key and now you see it's completely closed. If you want to make sure, you can press the Z key or leave edit mode. If I press the Z key, you can see through, or you can see the solid view. So I'm pressing tab to leave this edit mode, and I can see it's pretty much solid. If I want to be sure here, I press render, and you can see it's solid. You can leave render mode with ESC. So now we have our first half. So I'm going back to the front view with 1, hold Ctrl and zoom out a little bit while moving my scroll wheel. Can also move a little bit to the left, which I do with shift and moving from left to right on my mighty mouse. So this is one half. Now we're going to duplicate it. So you can go to object and you can say make duplicate. You can also say duplicate link, or you can say duplicate object. So I want to duplicate this object. So what I'm going to do now, I see I'm in orthographic view, so I press 5 again to make 1 again to make it look on the grid again. If you move around, you'll see that the grid is gone. You only see it here on the bottom, but if you press 1 for front or 7 for top, you're completely perpendicular on the surface. So I'm going to duplicate this one with duplicate object, hold down Ctrl and click with my left mouse button to confirm. Well, this one is the wrong way around, so what I'm going to do is rotate, press R and 180. You can also hold down Ctrl and rotate with your mouse, doesn't matter, but I like to work in degrees because it's faster. Now with G, I'm moving them together. Oh, they're already together, so that's easy. But as you can see in the picture, we need to slightly grow this side of the pill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it up a bit. So I press S, hold on Ctrl, and scale it up 1 step, like this. Now with G and X, I can move around the X-axis, hold down Ctrl, and now you see they're perfectly together. So if you press render again, you'll see that here there is both parts of our pill. I'm going to move the camera a bit so it's still in view. So I press ESC and press 0 for the camera view, and now I see it doesn't fit. But what you can do is with your right mouse button you can select the edge of the camera, or you can select the camera here in the Project Explorer. Now I hold, press the G key and move around a little bit freely without holding Ctrl or whatsoever, but I want it to be in my side of the camera. And with the left mouse button I confirm. If I render again, I see the complete pill over here. Now what you'll notice is that this isn't exactly smooth. You see a lot of these small faces. So what we're going to do is smoothing these out. So I say smooth, select with my right button, mouse button this one, and say shading smooth. If I render them, now they're smooth. If you want to go back, you can say flat again, and you have flat. So now you see the difference. This one is smooth, this one is flat. So I'm going to make this one smooth again. So the only thing left now is changing colors. So we make this half white and this half red, I guess. So to make this one white, we go to the material tab, and let's see, here is the material tab. It looks like this, also a little square. So I press the new button, and it's always a good practice to name your materials. If you use a lot of materials, you completely lost track of which is what. So I'm going to name this pill white. As you can see, the diffuse color is already white. In another episode we're going to discuss all these options, but for now it's okay. So I'm going to select with my right mouse button the red part, also add a material to it, and we call this one pill red. Now here I'm going to choose a red diffuse color, which is completely red. So you can also drag these sliders around, so I make them completely 100. And now we have a red-white pill. if I press 0 again for the camera and I press the render, you'll see we have our pill. Well, now for this episode, that's basically it. We've learned how to advanced extrude the sphere into this form of half a pill. We've learned to use the F key for face filling, so the object isn't hollow anymore. What you can do, you see, this is basically a little bit dark, so what I'm going to do is move the light. So what I do is press 0 again and look for the light. It's over here. So you can also here select the light or lamp, and I press G and move it a little bit to the front. If I now render, it's a little bit too close, so I'm going to move it a little bit backwards. Like this. Now you have your pill. You see it's a little bit shiny, so it's reflecting the light we've just moved. So that's great. If you want to save this render, you can go to image and say save as image. So I'm going to save this one on my desktop as pill render and save it as an image. So basically we're done now. In the next episode we'll continue working on materials and render options. I hope to see you then. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. In the description of this video you see a link to my GitHub account for Boson Tech, where you can download the episode files, so you can download this render and also the Blender file. If you think I want more practice with the techniques I've learned till now, you can visit the challenge link, which is shown in the description below this video. The challenge basically shows you only a render of a model I've made. Your challenge is to create a duplicate of this model in Blender. With the techniques you've learned today, you should be able to reproduce this challenge. Good luck!